In today's lesson, we will study about classes and objects. Secondly, we'll see how they can be declared and using them, how we can call functions or objects, class members functions and members data. In Python, to define class, we have the class keyword. We have written the class name test and then added semicolon using which we can define the scope of the class. When I'll enter it, an indentation block will already be available to us, which will represent that from this point the class boundary which is starting from here. I perform any task here. I place variable A. Value in A is 10. I place 20 in B variable. Now I defined a class, and in class I declared two data members, meaning first data member is A and second data member is B. Now if I will access these data members outside the class and I print it, I've come outside the scope of the class. When I will print A, what error will it give? Name A is not defined. A is actually defined inside the scope of the class. For it, what will I do if I want to access A? Now I will first create the object of this class. How is object created? Always to create a variable you can give any variable name. Object 1 is equals to class name and parentheses. Actually, parentheses are called the constructor of the class. Means the space allocation that needs to be done for class an object in memory. Basically the test constructor does memory allocation in RAM. Now a blueprint of class. Copy will be available in memory. Now whenever through this test class object I have to access something of test class, I will do it through this object. Means I'll write obj1 dot. Which variable I have to access, I accessed it and I returned back its value. I had accessed its data members. If here instead of its object I access it directly by writing class name, in that case also it has returned that same value. Means we can access data members of class in two ways. If I create a function here, so it has generated an error that function takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. That the argument you had it could not find it, but when declared it, it has been given one argument in definition signature. What argument will that be? Whenever you have to declare function in class, one variable, it has no value of any kind, but it is representing that function itself. Aside from this, you can place argument that you want to give, but you will always pass the self parameter which is itself representing the function. Now when I will run it, so it has represented output 200. Till here we saw how functions can be defined in class, what is class, how class is declared, how will data members data function in class be defined, then in which ways they will be accessed. If I call this function directly here, so it has generated an error that function is not defined because it is inside the scope of that class. Whenever I'll access it through the class's name or the class's object's name. Till here was how classes are made, how their objects are made, what are constructors, and how the data members or data functions are accessed.